If you're looking to buy a stacked NBA 2K account with max badges and more, visit sportstmb.com. He has been in the community for years and has hundreds of reviews. Click the first link in the description to get your account today.
Before this video starts, if you enjoyed this video, there are many more like it already on the channel, with many more like it to come in the future, so subscribe. I'm trying to hit 100,000 subscribers by the end of the year, so I would really appreciate it. I upload nearly daily on this channel, so if you're looking for some consistent sports talk, this is the place for it. Also, drop a like on this video. It only takes 1 second, and it makes a massive difference. Also, real quick, the last video I dropped was on how good Stephen Curry would be if the three-point line was shortened like it was in the mid-90s, and the video did okay, but I put a lot of work in it and I was hoping it would do better than okay. So if you haven't checked that one out yet, I would really appreciate it if you would go give that one a watch. It's certainly interesting to see how that would affect him as well as the league. But let's get on with the topic of this video. I randomly decided the other day that I should talk about the Kings. That's literally the whole reason why we're talking about the Kings. With these 2K talks, I like to keep the subjects basically just whatever comes to mind that I wouldn't want to dedicate a full video to. So today, we're talking about the Sacramento Kings. Now, I did mention that I was going to talk about the Kings on a tweet the other day, and someone actually brought up a weird drama that's gone under the radar that I have not seen mentioned once until now, and that is that Marvin Bagley's dad said that De'Aaron Fox was not the leader of the team, and then De'Aaron Fox called out his dad on Instagram. So that's certainly interesting. Apparently Marvin Bagley's dad is like LeVar Ball light. He's known for being a little bit too outspoken. And on top of that, De'Aaron Fox unfollowed Bagley on Instagram. Apparently, people were saying that he unfollowed the Kings on Instagram, but apparently he was never following the Kings on Instagram. I don't know. But I don't really know what to make of that drama. Hopefully it doesn't end up being big, but even if it is, these are all guys on their rookie contracts. They cannot like each other all they want, as far as I'm concerned. If I was in the position of the Kings, they're staying on the team and they're just going to have to be professional and get over it. But with that out of the way, let's talk about the young, exciting players on this team, which really is just De'Aaron Fox and Marvin Bagley, because everyone else on this team is either doesn't have a big ceiling or is a little too old to be in the young category. Fox this year averaged 20 and 7 on 56% true shooting percentage. His overall field goal percentage went up, but his three-point percentage saw a drop, shooting just 30% from three this year on just 3 attempts per game. But he is a very, very talented slasher, extremely athletic, extraordinarily fast. He shoots around 67% at the basket for his career, which is elite for a guard, so that's fantastic. He's also a pretty damn good playmaker. It comes pretty natural to him, but he also is not overbearing with his playmaking. He doesn't have to do too much. I think he has the same potential as Ja Morant, and he's not given that level of credit. Maybe because Ja's new and De'Aaron's had some injuries, and the Kings are the Kings. Then again, the Grizzlies are the Grizzlies. So I don't know why De'Aaron has not been given the hype as of recently that he was earlier in his career, but he deserves it more than he did then. Now he has that kind of upside, and I think he should be given credit for that. Now, there is a big concern with his jump shot. He's not a particularly good mid-range shooter either, but if he could do what he did last year, which is shoot 37% from 3 on about 3 attempts, if he could maybe increase the attempts and keep that kind of percentage, hopefully he can be a decent enough three-point shooter, similar to what I think Ja Morant will be in the coming seasons. The fact that he is a 72% free throw shooter for his career leaves much to be desired, and has me believing that maybe that will not be the case. But regardless, at the very least, De'Aaron Fox is going to be a smaller John Wall, which is a damn good player to have. Now next for Marvin Bagley, he is a very good offensive big. He's a pretty damn great athlete. He doesn't have the highest vertical leap in the world, but he is very, very, very agile for a big. He's also a great ball handler for a big. I've seen plenty of plays where he takes it up and down the court by himself as a power forward slash center. He has pretty decent touch as well. I've seen him pull out a few floaters here and there. He has a few good post moves that he can go to on occasion, especially especially with a mismatch, but his jumper has looked a little bit questionable thus far. He has shot horribly from 3 for his career. He has been basically average from mid-range. I think he could be better than that. He also is not a playmaker, which would be nice, but he's not. And he is not good defensively. Now, he's not as bad defensively as many people said he would be coming out of college, but he's still not good. But on the offensive end, I think he has Pascal Siakam potential, minus the jumper that Pascal has displayed this year. With that same ability to be way faster and way better at dribbling the ball than most players at his position is something that I think Bagley will have on top of the athleticism. But he's not going to have quite the jumper, and he's not going to be the defender, because Siakam is a very good defender. Now, let's get on to the other players with this team. There is a weird situation with their 2-guard spot. Basically, this year, after Buddy Hield got his extension, he was the starting shooting guard, as he was the season prior, where he averaged 20 points per game and shot like 44% from 3 on like 8 attempts per game. It was something ridiculous. One of the best shooters in the league. But this year, he was kind of struggling with his shooting, and by that I mean he was shooting just 38% on 10 attempts, so that's basically garbage. It isn't, but for him, that was a down season as a shooter, and his overall creation wasn't really working, and with a lot of guys being injured, which we'll talk about in a second, Buddy had to do a lot more than he really should be asked to do, and he wasn't really fit for that role, so as a result, Bogdan Bogdanovic was put in the starting lineup, and Buddy Hield was brought off of the bench. And Bogdan is a bit better of a creator, so he seems more fit in that leading guy role. And obviously Buddy Hield did not like this, but he also played really well off of the bench. So there's like this whole who do you choose, Bogdan or Buddy? Both are 27 years old, so they don't really qualify as young guys. Both have their positives and negatives. As I said, Bogey is a better playmaker and overall creator for himself. Buddy Hield is a much better three-point shooter. As for who is better, I do not know. All I know is that it is with the 22 and 20-year-old pair of really good players that I think you should be investing your time in and really caring that much about. I wouldn't invest too much of my future into these guys because they're really hitting their primes right now, and I think Bagley and Fox are going to need a few years, so this might not be the best timeline. I wouldn't hedge your bets on either of these guys. I'd honestly keep whoever is the cheapest. I think the fact that Bogdan is a better playmaker could allow Fox to be a bit more of an off-ball shooter, but Buddy being a better shooter would allow Fox to be better when he has the ball, and he's going to be more of an on-ball player throughout his career. So you really can't make me pick there because both have their positives and negatives. Neither are really defensive players at all, so I don't know, it's a tough situation. Maybe you can bring back both and you just deal with the fact that one of them is going to be coming off of the bench. I think Bogdan is probably going to want to go to a different team rather than be a sixth man, especially because I think he has the potential to be a 25-5 guy, but it really depends on how this works out. I really don't have an answer there. As for the other players on this team, there is Harry Geils as really the only young guy on this team outside of the De'Aaron Fox and Marvin Bagley. I don't know if it's Geils or Giles, but I'm going with Geils. I could be completely wrong there. I don't think I've heard anyone say it out loud, but he has been pretty efficient. Not someone that makes too many mistakes. He's a pretty good role player, I'd say. There's reason to believe that he can actually be a good starter, and maybe even reason to believe that he has star upside. I just don't know if that's going to happen with this team because he's not really a defensive player either, and you don't want two non-defensive big men. He's also not really a three-point shooter like Bagley is. You really don't want to have two offensive bigs who don't play defense and can't really shoot the ball in the game. That's just very far from ideal. So as a result, he's probably going to be delegated to the bench on this team, or he will go elsewhere and he'll show off some of his potential. Then there are the role players in Rashon Holmes, Harrison Barnes, Naaman Bjelica, and Corey Joseph. Harrison Barnes is possibly the most average starter in the history of NBA basketball, and Rashon Holmes is someone that I would like to quickly brag about. I was on the Rashon Holmes train before there was even a Rashon Holmes train ever since he was in Philadelphia. One of my first videos was actually on him as well as a few other young players that I thought were slept on, and he has been great for Sacramento this year. 13 points and 8 rebounds, as well as 1.5 blocks on 65% shooting. Guy is your textbook run, jump, and dunk rebounding, rim protecting center. He is a keeper, and he's around the same age as Buddy Hield and Bogdan, so he's a keeper. Bjelica is a great stretch big, and when I looked at his stats, I was actually surprised by how good of an offensive rebounder he is. He only averages like 6 rebounds a game, and nearly 2 of them are offensive. And Corey Joseph as a backup point guard is cool. Of course, he was overpaid, as many of the role players on this team have been, but this is the Sacramento Kings, so they really got to hold on to whatever they have. Now, as for why this team has struggled, this is overall a decent roster, but as for why they were bad, well, injury and a bad coach. Fox only played 45 of the 64 games this year. Bagley only played 13. Bogey missed 11. Holmes played just 39 games. Geils only played 38. But worse than all of this, Luke Walton sucks ass as a coach. He took this very fast, young team led by possibly the fastest player in the NBA and decided to slow down the pace to one of the slowest paces in the league. Just utterly moronic. Walton is lucky that Jim Boylen is such a fucking dunce, because otherwise he would be in contention for the worst coach in the NBA. Until Jim Boylen gets fired, he has that title by a landslide. But as for some suggestions, I would suggest Kenny Atkinson for the coach. He built a great culture with some younger-ish players in Brooklyn mixed with a bunch of veteran players, and this team has that level of mix, so I think they can be that good. I think De'Aaron Fox is pretty much already on D'Angelo Russell's level, so I definitely think that is doable. As for what they can do in the offseason, I think their starting lineup is good. Either sign and trade Bogdan or trade Buddy and keep Bogdan. I really have no opinions on who's better. I think I'd look for another source of offense off of the bench if you can't keep both of those guys. I don't think you will be able to keep both of those guys. Bobby Portis could be a cheap option because he's had a down year in New York, and with the rising cap and the fact that he sucked this season, I seriously doubt that they're going to pick up his team option. Now, that's unfortunately really the only option I can suggest, because the other guys who would have been options are now not, because they will be certainly taking their player options with a declining cap. Evan Fournier and Tim Hardaway Jr. originally would have been options, because I think you could assign them to about the same they were making in their player options, but now that the cap is going to go down because of the virus shutting out like 20 games this season and the fans not being in attendance and all of the stuff, as a result, you're really not going to be able to sign those guys because they're going to take their player options if they know what's good for them. So yeah, Bobby Portis, Kenny Atkinson, those are my suggestions. But really, as long as this team is healthy and you give them a decent coach, I think you can add them to the long list of teams in the Western Conference who are going to be fighting for the 8th seed. So that just adds another level of depth to the Western Conference. As long as there's health and a good coach, I think the Kings should be pretty well off. Just got to make that decision on Buddy Hield or Bogdan Bogdanovic. But that is the end of this video. Please be sure to like and subscribe for more NBA content like this, and cue the outro music.